to do this. I'm tired and I'm lazy. This is terrible. I hate being tired. This is after Campfire. I need a nap. Let's get started. First off, my name's Sam. We make videos. This is how we communicate. I'm so tired. Being an adult is hard. I don't like it. It is the month of February. It's the 4th. Donald Trump's about to give a speech. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it. I should, because that is how you be a competent adult. But I can't. I don't know. It's hard to be a person right now, just in general. But also, it's hard to be someone who talks to kids about these kinds of things. Like, I know on Thursday I'm going to have to talk about the State of the Union with my Model UN and international politics kids. And I'm going to have to talk to my 7th graders about it tomorrow. And I'm going to have to have this conversation multiple times where I'm going to have to correct the President of the United States for being incorrect about things and saying things that are wrong. And I'm not saying politically oh you can't. I'm saying factually incorrect, because you can't say things factually incorrect. I don't. I'm so tired of all of this stupid. I'm so tired of that. I have so much anger right now in me. But it's like grumpy 2-year-old anger that's I'm ready to throw a temper tantrum and just, With that said, I feel like I should make a video. I don't know. I'm having some feelings. But either way, so, to be realistic here, last week Henry asked me a question, because he asked me two-parted, because 3 weeks ago, he forgot to ask me a question, and I'm never going to let him forget it. So this week I have to answer 2, because that is the kind of person that Henry is. But on top of that, it's been busy. It's been a busy few weeks. With book release parties and sales and shows and all these kinds of things, I feel like I'm just running myself more ragged than I normally do. And that stinks, but it's the truth. And then on top of that, there's things I don't have a choice. I have to go to physical therapy. I had to get a haircut today because my hair was too long. I have to, be an adult, which isn't fun really either. So it's kind of just this weird middle ground. With that said, I asked Henry the question, what would childhood you think of you now? What would childhood you think of adult you? And, there's 3 distinct concepts that come to mind. And so I think little young 6-year-old me would have been super mad that I'm not famous by now. But also just been so happy to see that I could do anything. Which is nice. I'd say 10 to 13-year-old me, that weird middle school phase, would be really surprised that I'm just here, for lack of a better term. But also, I think there would be a little bit more pride that like I've been doing more like with my life. I think there still will be that twinge of like, dude, why aren't you famous yet? You should be famous. Which was like a thing that like sounds ridiculous, but as a kid, I genuinely was like, I'm gonna make the world better, and everyone's gonna know my name. And there's always that like twinge of disappointment that like it doesn't happen as quickly as you think, and there's a lot more work that goes into being just successful. I'm not even talking about famous anymore, but successful. Um, that I think I wish I knew more about as a kid because it would have changed my like behavior a bit in terms of school, in terms of art, in terms of everything that I did when I was younger. And then I think finally, like high school me would be like, dude, why aren't you famous? It's a running problem in my head because I still think about it sometimes. And like and so for me there was this weird growing up mindset that just, oh, by the time I'm 21 I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to do all the things. And I'm 26 and I am not a millionaire and I have only done some of the things. Um but I also think that there's a bit of a like as it gets older and it gets more realistic, there's a lot more pride in knowing where I'm at to where I get to now. That plays such a big role, I think. So, by the way, the first part I need to explain is this question was asked to me by an eighth grader who was very worried about the idea, like growing up, because there's a lot more pressure on kids nowadays to know what they want to do and be what they want, and like all this stuff that didn't exist for us when we were kids. Like, my goals weren't realistic as a kid by any stretch of the word. And these kids are planning out their high school careers and their colleges and what kind of careers and this and that. And there's because they have all this exposure, they have a very different view of growing up. And so they're at a place where they're sitting there, they're going, but will I like the person I become? I think it's really tough for anyone, for literally anyone to think about. And so I loved that was a question is, would eighth grade me specifically like me now? And I think so. I think there's the idea of like, what kind of adult did you want to have as a kid? And I wanted this loud, rambunctious, silly, childish at times, but very serious and calming adult. And so even now, that's kind of the adult that I'm trying to be. Um, and so that's kind of where that, like, why I know that I'd be okay with myself. So there's that. Henry asked a question on a different note that came in two parts. What's advice that you'd give to yourself as a kid that you wish you could give yourself? And what's some fake advice that you shouldn't give yourself? And they're two questions. My real advice, I already kind of touched on, is work harder. Work harder. Hey kid, I hear you're really smart. Hey kid, why aren't you doing any of your schoolwork? Oh, because you're getting A's without it? That's great. Do your schoolwork. Work hard. like, I grew up just being able to get by very easily. And so I wish growing up, um, like my parents did really kick me into shape when I was younger, but like even more so, I wish I knew where I was at and what I could do, and that would have played a much bigger role for me. It made it a lot easier for me to kind of to have transitioned through high school to college and, you know, that kind of idea. If I could give myself a terrible piece of advice, it would probably be hold on to every single friend you've had. None of them will ever betray you ever. That's terrible advice. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. People grow apart, and that's okay. Um, that's also really good advice. But like also like in the opposite sense, like what I just said, it's not the terrible advice like I think Henry was saying, where he was like, what's a joke?" Um, I don't know if I have a joke that I would give myself. My child, I don't know. So my answer is, um, everyone has to like you. Everyone's gonna have to be your friend. Don't let anyone go ever. Which isn't the answer Henry was hoping for, I don't think. Um, but, 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 um, my next part of this is where I ask Henry a question. I had a question, I should have wrote it down because it's important to me, but I forgot to. And so, my question to Henry, if I give myself 1 second to remember it, is so we've been talking about like younger yous and this yous and that yous and very self-reflective kind of questions. And so I think I'm going to take like a brief pause from this. If you could make a TV show about your life, what kind of show would it be? Like, what would your TV show be like? All right, that's it. Bye bye.